अभी चालू हो गया सर, म्यूट म्यूट कर दिया।
एक मिनट, एक वेट
म्यूट
वेट फॉर। हर्षद पारेख सर और मिलिंद मोरे सर अनम्यूट करके टॉक स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं सर आप।
Okay.
ओके,
Okay. Ready?
रेडी सर।
Okay.
रेडी टू स्टार्ट।
Okay. Good evening, friends. Today's topic is roots of fear. And before that, some few weeks ago, we had a dialogue on roots of violence. So there are many different psychological problems like fear, violence, anger, jealousy. They are all very much interrelated. And we are just giving this title, but it covers almost all problems of psychological nature. Now, fear, I have prepared a little and then I will speak on my own. Fear is programmed in our nervous system and it works like an instinct. It makes us alert to danger and prepare us to deal with it. We are born with some fears like fear of falling and fear of loud sounds. And this fear has come in our system at the time of the birth through evolution. And then there are primal fear, like fear of snakes and spiders and bugs. And there are rational fears, like if somebody is coming with a knife to kill me, then the fear is natural to arise. And there are irrational fear also, like fear of ghosts and clowns. And I will say a little about the fear of snakes and scorpions, which I have come across, and also the irrational fear, which even Krishnaji had, which I read somewhere. And the primitive people, they were afraid of forces of nature like volcanoes, lightning and thunder, and fire, rain, sun, and they thought that they were like gods punishing when there was a storm or heavy rain like that. Apart from this, there are fear which we develop as we grow up, like fear of examinations for students. There are fear of injections like corona. Many people are afraid. Then when we see blood, we get afraid, even if we get hurt, but we don't see blood, we are not afraid. But when we begin to see the blood coming out, we get afraid. There is a fear of darkness. And most people are afraid of being lonely, loneliness. Some people are afraid of flying in the aeroplane. And most people are afraid of some change happening in our life, like when we have to go to some unknown places, like some other country. Some fear come because of the change in the environment, because we get used to certain environment, certain way of living, and when there is a change in that, it creates fear. Then there is the fear of disease, like right now, many people have fear of corona, and some fear of close places, and the fear of unknown. And because we don't know something, it creates fear. And the symptoms of fear are like pain in the chest, chills, mouth dry, nausea, rapid heartbeats, shortness of breath, sweating, trembling, and some fear even Krishnaji had when he was young and he had to give public talk. He used to be behind the curtain. And then there are fear of public opinion, what other people will talk about us. So there are many such psychological fears. I like to tell you a little bit about my first remembrance of fear is that when I was leaving India for the first time in 1969, I was not afraid. Even when I left India at the Mumbai airport, and many of my relatives had come to send me off, and they were all telling me about being careful because I was going to America for the first time in my life, and I had not gone outside even Gujarat, and I was not exposed to American culture. Even my English was not good, but somehow I had some confidence that everything will be all right. And I told my relatives, don't worry about me because I am still will be on earth, and people had gone on moon in 1969. And so I told them, don't worry about me, I will take care. So I had some kind of false confidence, maybe some kind of dreaminess I had. But when the plane arrived in London and then in Paris, and for the first time I was on my own in a foreign country, and I saw foreigners for the first time, and the fear started arising. And then I went to, from London, Paris, went to New York. In New York, I spent 1 week with my cousin brother. And then I left him and went to Alabama State. And there, the university I found, my friend told me that it is not a good university. It was mostly for foreign students and black students in the south of America, Alabama State. So then I traveled, I stayed in that university only for 3 days. And then I went to Iowa State, where I had also admission. And I had to travel for almost 2 days by bus from Alabama to Des Moines and Iowa. And I had to change buses many times. And I was afraid. And but American people, they were very helpful, and they put me on the right bus at different places. And finally, I came to Iowa State, and I started studying for master's degree. And my English was not good, and also I could not understand American pronunciation. So there was a fear of coming, and there are many problems, not only academic problems I had, about language problem, food problem. Then it started becoming very cold, and I was not able to understand what was going on in the classrooms. I felt very lonely, and the financial problem, and all these problems came in my life. And every morning when I get up, I felt as if the world was revolving around me. I was not eating properly because I had no cooking facility. I had to eat outside vegetarian food, and the food was very expensive by Indian standard. And I felt that I could not stay in that country, and I wanted to come back to India. So one day I went to the foreign student advisor and told him that I can't live in this country. I was very physically weak when I left India. And because I was not taking care of myself, not eating properly, and worrying too much, I became even weaker. And I thought that and it started becoming very cold. And I was not protecting myself because I had to buy overcoat, winter coat, and I I had no money really. I had money, but I was very very careful. I had no scholarship in the beginning. No, I was doing master's degree. So one day I went to the foreign student advisor and I told him that I can't live in this country. I am feeling very weak. And so the foreign student advisor, he said, of course, you can go back to India if you are not feeling well. Then I said, but I don't have money to go back because to come back, I have to buy ticket again, plane ticket, and I did not have that much money. So the advisor, he said, don't worry about money. We will give you some loan. And then when you go back to India, you can send back the money. On that day, I went back to my room and I told myself that no, I don't want to go back to India. And if I go back to India without studying, people will laugh at me and will say he went all the way to America, spent a lot of money, and came back without studying anything. So I said, no, somehow I will have to live in this country. And of course, after that, I, uh, I made a friend, good friend from uh, South America, and he needed my help in studies. He was a married student and he was inviting me to his place. We were eating together and I was helping him in studies. And I began to get some confidence about my ability, even in academics. And then I started working on campus, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and working up to 8 o'clock and then getting ready and then go to university to attend. So in that way, I spent 3 months. Those were the worst time in my life where all the problems were combined together. But in the second semester, I stayed with some Indian students. We were cooking Indian food. And then I started working on campus. I was earning some money. And then after second semester, I went to Chicago and I did some job, summer job, working as a draftsman. And I earned some money. And when I went back to university to complete my master's degree, I got scholarship also from the department. And then my problems were solved. Most of financial problem was solved. Academic, I was doing well in my academics also, and food and climate and all, there were no such problem except loneliness and worrying about future. This problem remained. And in such a state, I came across, after I completed master's degree also, and then started PhD in the same university, Iowa State University. And then in 1972, I came across a book of Krishnamurti, and then I began to understand this problem of fear, loneliness, all kinds of psychological problem. If somebody says something which make me feel hurt, what is behind this feeling hurt? And Krishnaji was telling in a very clear way from where these problems are coming. And he said these problems are coming from the root of all our psychological problems is in thinking. And we can't solve one problem at a time. If we want to really look at all the root of all the problems, and those problems are coming from the sense of I or me, and that even that sense of I or me is coming from thinking. And so this was something very new to me, and I I became very curious to verify whether what Krishna ji was saying was really true. So if you want to verify that the problems, the root of all problems, fear, etc., is in thinking, then you have to go right at the source. Means one has to look at the beginning of a thought. And I was not asking questions like many people who ask many questions in the dialogues. To me, what Krishnaji was saying was very clear. All one had to do was to really experiment in our daily life. And I had an office, and I used to sit quietly and with great attention and with curiosity to look at the beginning of a thought. And that itself, maybe as Krishnaji says, it requires the freedom to look. Maybe I had that freedom to look, and I found that my mind really stopped. And when generally what happens, many people have told me that when the mind stops, a fear arises because it is a state in which there is no I, no me. So it is like a psychological death. And we don't like to die psychologically. And that is why our mind keeps on chattering so that it doesn't come to an end. And if it comes to the end, it gets frightened. So we try to escape from looking inward when this fear comes. But I had no fear when my mind stopped. It was wonderful to feel that state in which there is no thinking, but the senses are alive. And in that state, there are no problems because there is no thinking and no I. So once I verified, then I said, yes, what Krishnaji says is true. And then it became very interesting to look. Whenever I had free time, I did not work on this day and night, and I did not feel that I must drop my studies. Like sometimes Krishnaji says, why are you being educated? And sometimes when young people when they listen to Krishnamurti asking such a question, they drop out from their studies. And they also say, yes, what is the use of studying? Because they don't like to study also. It is very painful to study. But I did not drop out. Whenever I had time, I started looking deeper into myself, and I could see how the problems were arising. And with that, some changes started happening in my body, and my brain became very sensitive. My eyes also became sensitive to look at nature, to look at human beings, to look at everything. And it first time I found how beautiful our campus, Iowa State, was. There was a beautiful lake and the swans moving gently. And in the month of October, beautiful these maple trees with a changing beautiful colors in the leaves, and the leaves falling on the ground, and there's a carpet. And when in the winter, the snow, the beauty of snow. So the weather, and in the spring, you can begin to see the trees putting on new leaves and the birds singing. So a kind of a new life started uh, at that time in 1972 or 73. And it went on, and I started writing letters to Krishnaji about what was happening in my life, and what was happening in my body and the brain. And I was not asking questions, just like a friend. And I did not discuss with anybody about Krishnamurti teachings, because in that university, though there were 20,000 students, I did not know anyone who was interested in Krishnamurti. And so this went on, and then I completed my PhD, and I did well in my studies also, because when your mind is really free and very attentive, creativity comes in your life, and it comes even in science. Because if you want to do something new in the field of science, you require a very silent mind and curiosity, and freedom from the previous knowledge. Of course, in science, you need a previous knowledge, and you must find out what is new to be done, which has not been done by anybody in the past. So this helped me in my research. And then I completed my PhD in 1974. And then I went to Canada to work as a scientist. And I had holidays, and I had money because I was earning money also. So I went to Ojai, California, to listen to Krishna ji for the first time in 1977, then again 78, and then in 1979, third time. And last time when I went, at that time, I had thought that this would be my last visit to Ojai, California, because I had come in touch with some other spiritual group which was based in Canada and US. And they had also some members in other countries also. It was basically a Christian group, but I had very good friends, and they were very nice, and they were open to all religions. So and they wanted me to join their community in Canada, but I told them that I want to listen to Krishnamurti for one more time, and then maybe I will join your group. So in 1979, when I went, I listened to Krishnaji for the first time without any effort at all, uh, and with complete silence. And then some things begin to happen. Uh, and then there was a music program of Lakshmi Shankar had come. And during that time, music program, I felt some kind of communion with Krishnaji non-verbally. And then I left Canada and I wrote several letters to Krishnaji. And it became very clear that my life was meant for Krishnamurti schools. And I suggested to Krishnaji that I like to give up everything I had. Even I could have given up my life for Krishnaji. And then Krishnaji wrote back to me. And then a month after that, I went to England, Brookwood Park, and talked with Krishnaji about my coming to India. And first time I had a one-to-one talk with Krishnaji, and so on. And then I went back to Canada and completed my research work. I did work as a scientist for 4 years in Canada. And I did very good work, published many research papers. But what Krishnaji was saying seemed to be very, very interesting. And even when I was young in a school, I wanted to be a teacher in a school, but it did not happen at that time. So finally, everything happened at the right time when I had earned some little money by working in Canada, and I was not interested in money. And I came into contact with Krishnaji, and then he had school. So I feel that I fulfilled myself, my desire to be a teacher in a Krishnamurti school. And then Krishnaji was coming every year up to his death, 1985. From 1979, I joined Rishi Valley School, and he passed away in 86. So we had many dialogues with him, and sometimes I had one-to-one dialogue with him also. So it was wonderful. Um, so if I look back, it seems to me that I did nothing. Everything seemed to be planned for me. I felt like my going to America, it seems, was to come in touch with Krishnamurti and to earn some money, because if I had stayed in India, I would have to work for many years and I had to help family and all that. So I did help my family when I was in Canada. And so I have said the greatest fear which we have is the fear of death, of dying. And Krishnaji has talked a lot about the fear of death. And it is not the death of the body. Everybody dies, we know, but it is the psychological death. And Krishnamurti has observed death in nature also. And I have also observed, I have also written a lot about death of snake or insect, or Krishnaji writes how beautiful these flowers were and how quickly they were withering in the sun. The life of a flower is only one day. And then Krishnaji says there must be ending for the new to be. So we see all the leaves drying up, and then in spring the new life comes up again in the tree, and the tree is full of leaves and flowers. And Krishna says the ending of thought is the beginning of new. The death of thought is life eternal. There must be death every day for the unknown to be. Because you cannot experience death, you are afraid of it. Thought creates the thinker as a permanent entity, and then because of that thinker, it imagines about death, and the fear arises. And he says, you are not afraid of death, but the loss of known. Whatever you have known, you are attached to family, money, property. And when we die, we lose everything which we have gathered, even knowledge. So our fear is the fear of losing the known, the thing which we have known. And Krishnaji talks about what is can be understood only when the mind is utterly passive, when it is not operating on what is. That means our mind is thinking, and we are not even aware of what is going on, and we are not thinking. Thinking is happening to us, and it comes from memory or experience, or it comes from somewhere. Scientists also do not know from where thoughts arise because they have not been able to catch thinking. But this, if it is possible for us to observe this thinking in operation, and if one wants to observe this thinking, how it creates many problems in relationship, one has to be silent and passively aware of this what is unfolding in our mind. And that way of looking, Krishnaji calls as choiceless awareness. And when this choiceless awareness is not awakened in most human beings, though they may feel that they are aware, because many times people say, I am aware, but I am not free. But when awareness comes, then there is the freedom. Real freedom comes, then a lot of burden which we are carrying in our mind, it goes away, and the life becomes very beautiful. And then we really understand what that non-verbal beauty and love is. And love is not attachment, because generally people think that you like somebody, you are attracted to somebody, and that is love. But very soon that turns into jealousy and anger and fear and all that. So all our psychological problems are very much related, and like attachment can bring the fear of losing the person whom you think you love. Then if that person doesn't do what you like, then there will be anger. And sometimes people kill somebody, or sometimes people commit suicide. And even this love story of Romeo and Juliet, when they came to know, when Romeo came to know that Juliet had died, actually she had not died, but he heard that he committed suicide. So both of them actually committed suicide. So people who really love, they don't do any harm to their own body and mind, and they don't do harm to other people also. So that is what we call love is not love. It and one can it Krishna ji can explain everything. He can give many talks, but as long as we have not felt it in our life, we will not understand what how to look at the tree, how to look at your friend, how to look at your family. So there is something great one can find in our life. Actually, I have spoken a lot, but I will finish it in 1 minute. There is a treasure buried within us, and many people in the past have found the treasure within themselves when they come in direct touch with it, when there is a freedom from fear and loneliness and jealousy and ambition to become somebody and all that. So that treasure can be touched. Many people have touched, and but for that
Ah,
one
call, Dr.
one must be very attentive to one's own life every day, what is going on, and look at it, choiceless awareness. Thank you very much. I've said enough.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, Milind More, sir, would you please like to say something?
Yes, sir. I'll just share some of my thoughts.
Yeah.
But may I request if it is possible to see all of you? Somehow I'm not comfortable with seeing the words on each one of the template here. Uh, it would be nice if we can see
Yeah.
each other. It gives me an
Yeah.
opportunity to also look at each other
Okay,
and
Yeah.
okay.
see
To
each other
connect proper way. To
to connect
connect in
properly,
proper way.
because every
I think, yeah, your name is there, but you have to video you have to
if
turn
we
on.
can, yeah, if there can be more of us seeing
Yeah,
each
yeah,
other.
yes.
I think there is
Now
a
it.
lot of learning involved in seeing the faces, and as one is speaking, one gets an instant feedback about what is happening, and something new may come up which one may like to share. So that's the only thing. And as Krishnji always says, that word is not the thing, and I am just seeing the words in front of me. So that's it. But anyway, it's a personal request if it is possible. But if it is not, maybe we'll go ahead. Uh, so just touching upon the main topic of discussion today about the roots of fear, uh, and what Harshad ji has actually touched upon in variety of ways. To my mind, I was just, when I was listening to Harshad ji, the first time when I felt fear was perhaps when I went for learning swimming. When I jumped into the water, there was a fear which I still remember. There was a fear I remember when the first time I went on stage to speak few words. That stage fright I still remember, and perhaps part of it remains with me even till today. And it emerges, at uncalled for situations, but it is so, and I see that it is still there. Uh, just thinking, and as I look back on my life, and I'm sure all of us have experienced this as we grow from child to adult to where we are today. uh, every occasion or every activity that one is involved with, whether in the process of education, or in the sports field, or in the academic area, or in the job market, in once you have a job, you are striving for achieving something, doing good, doing better than what you are. and once you become slightly senior, you may like to achieve certain targets, you may like to achieve certain things. So the life goes on, and maybe at some point, while you are young, it may not strike you that much, but as you grow older, the fear of death also starts coming to your mind. So that's how the whole life processes. And I think it's important, before one touches the aspect of fear, to see this whole map, to this whole map of how life progresses, or how the humans have evolved to live in a manner which is based on certain fundamentals. uh, Not that, I mean, in a way they are reality, in a way they are facts. I mean, fear is a fact, it is a fact, but is it a reality of life, or have you made that fact into a reality? So there are questions which one needs to touch upon. And I think that to begin with, it is important to see the complete map. And I think some of the salient points or the cardinal points which maybe we could touch upon is are, uh, one is about this aspect of running away from your loneliness and emptiness. I find this single most factor affecting human lives in a very big way, where there is always a tendency to move away from this aspect of one's life. That is one aspect. The second cardinal point I could touch upon is this aspect of becoming, achieving, the whole idea about success, and what it brings into our lives in terms of accumulating whatever it could be, wealth, it could be status, it could be power, position, money, whatever. So that's another branch of the way as human beings we live today. And at another level is also the aspect which Krishna ji has talked about, and what Harshad ji also touched upon, is this aspect of being with what is. And the tendency to move away from what is all the time, and the division which it brings into our lives, isn't it at the root of fear? So these are the 3 4 cardinal points, as I see, which actually dictate our life in a major way, as we live the way we live today. So can we look at this as a complete map? And in seeing that map, can we just observe that it is so, without making any judgment about it, or without making any conclusions about it, that that is the way life is, or that is the way the reality is? Can we keep all these things aside and see these things as they are? Can I, for example, live with my emptiness, is a question. Can I try that? Can I see that all my life, as examples which I just touched upon, whether at the school level or college or in my working life, I am always trying to achieve something. I'm always trying to become something. I'm always trying to become something better. Now, what is it leading to? Is it not taking you away from the basic reality of life? I mean, one example which I can think about immediately is that how much does a human being need to live on this earth? Basic food, shelter, and clothing is what is necessary. But I think our lives go much beyond that, to seek things which perhaps we may not need. So can I see that? And then if I see that, if I am wanting something more than that, then why am I wanting that? Where is that seeking coming from? And the seeking is at a material level, but there could be another kind of seeking which could be at spiritual level. So where is it coming from? Is it coming from my emptiness? Is it coming from my loneliness, which I am not able to face? Is it coming from uh, the inability to be with what is, as Harshadji touched upon, about the aspect of silent mind and what thinking does? Thinking has its place, of course, in life, but at the extreme end, what it does is to basically branch out this fear, which is at the root, into many branches. And most of the time, I think we are just about trimming these branches. We may be anxious, we may work on the anxiety part of it, we may feel good about it. We may be greedy, we may work on it a little bit, and feel happy about it. We may be envious about certain thing, work on it a little bit, and we may feel, okay, this is what I've done, and feel satisfied with it. But then we are just trimming, you see. We're just touching upon superficially, and in no time, it again gets back into our lives. So do I see that? And why do I do that? Why is it that I don't have that energy? I don't have the clarity of mind to see that. Is it because I would like to cling to what I have with me? That is what we see in our lives. Most of the time, we cling to what we have with us, and we don't want to leave it. And if that is the approach in one's life, then then the question is that whether we will ever be able to look at this question of fear. So so these are the things which come to my mind as I touch upon the basic, the arising of fear, and what fear does, and as human beings, to what level are we going to address it. And if there is a deep desire to, or curiosity to see this, then I think it boils down then to the question of being with what is. In seeing that there is a division which is happening at a very at the very thought level. Krishnji has talked about that both time and thought are related to fear. And when we talk about thought process, uh, how is it arising? Uh, the thought is, as Krishnaji has very clearly laid out on the table, it's about bringing memory to meet the challenges of today. Now, memory is something of the past. So if I'm bringing memory of the past to meet the challenges of the today, if it is defining my today's life, then what is happening is, if we open this up a little bit, now how is memory coming into being? Now, what is memory? Memory is basically about verbalization, about making something symbolic, making something which has an image, making something which is coded, and it remains in a brain, in the memories. And as and when there is a requirement to meet challenges of the present, it comes to forth. And of course, prior to that is the sensation. So unless you have sensations, the thought, the way it is formed with the help of memory to meet the present challenges, will not happen. So can we look, can we see that this symbolizations, or this formation of image which it happens, can we see that because it is given importance, it comes into existence? Can I have a state of mind where this is not given importance? Now, what does it mean that it is not given importance, and who decides it? Is a question. I can only touch this perhaps with an example. As I see many of us who have seen through their working life and jobs, there were things which were important to people when they were in their early 20s and 30s. As I said, things which were important was perhaps getting a good job, getting good salary, having a good status, position. But over a period of time, these things don't be, lose their appeal. Their symbolisms actually weakens, and when their symbolisms weaken, we see in our lives that it really doesn't make much difference in one's life. So this, I think, is an example where we see a weakness of a symbolization, a weakness of an image which has happened, and in that weakness, my actions today, or rather I'm quite relaxed about certain things as compared to maybe about a decade or two back. So this is just a small example or an indication about weakness of these symbolizations and what effect it has on one's life in in removing fear, or perhaps lessening the fear, or seeing the fear as it is, as to why it happened then and why it is no more in existence now. Now there are such umpteen number of such examples one can actually bring out from one's life and talk about, as there were fears some time back, but now they are no more there. So can I learn from this that the very fact of symbolizing something is bringing fear in my life? And when I see that, it's like seeing a map. And then in the alertness, then in the awareness of what I am doing on a day-to-day basis, I can see that there is a possibility of weakening that. Of course, there are questions of who is observing that, what is being observed. But what one can see perhaps is the division which is there, and can that division reveal something to you or something to oneself? And in that revelation perhaps lies seeing something which which is as it is. And when I think when one sees things as it is, it brings out a certain quality of energy, a certain quality of clarity, uh, which which perhaps which perhaps burns the fear, if I may use this word. So I think the aspect of being with what is, the relationship, understanding the relationship between observer and the observed, understanding that thought and time both are related to fear, and these are the two things which govern our lives by and large. So can I see that? I think that understanding these aspects, I think, forms the crux of fear that we are trying to touch upon. So I'll just end maybe with something which I came across, and I will just read it out. Now, this was spoken by Krishnaji himself sometime in 1936, and here he has talked about life in general. Now, something which struck me about this two paragraphs is that whatever I have spoken till now, in many ways, he is talking in this paragraph in a quite different way. In fact, almost opposite. So that's what I would like to read now, and maybe we can then move on to the question answers and further sharing. So I'll just read the title of this. Now, this is a book which was it's a private document of Dr. Parchure, and which he had written in March 2019. It came, and the title of this particular page is Separateness. Duality is a fact in life, but not a reality. So under this heading, there is a paragraph which I'll just read. It says that life is creation and nature conceals life. Life is creation and nature conceals life. That is, everything in manifestation conceals life in itself. When that life in nature develops and becomes concentrated in the individual, then nature has fulfilled itself. This is not a theory. The whole destiny and function of nature is to create an individual who is self-conscious, who knows the pair of opposites, who knows that he is an entity in himself, conscious and separate. To the separate individual, life becomes subject and object, but the fulfillment of life is to realize the totality of the whole, objectless, subjectless being, which is pure life. Individual consciousness is a result of ignorance, want, craving, fear. Now, this ignorance is without a beginning and is compounded with energy, which in its self-active development is unique. And this is what gives uniqueness to individuality. This ignorance, this I process, is maintaining itself through its own volitional activities, born of want, craving. It is the self-sustaining activity of ignorance that gives to consciousness its continuity, ever reforming itself. So this is Krishnaji talked in Oman on 25th of July, 36. So I think I'll stop with this, and maybe if there are any, we can move ahead with the rest of the session. Sushil Kumarji, yes.
Yes, sir. Let us wait someone to comment. Whomsoever wanted to comment, please come forward by raising hand.
नहीं वो बेन साहब वो अनम्यूट कर सकते हैं
हाँ।
अपने आप.
ओके ओके. बाकी हैंड रेज करेंगे तो मालूम रहेगा ना.
हाँ हैंड रेज भी कर सकते हैं और साथ में वो बोल भी सकते हैं और कमेंट कर सकते हैं, बात कर सकते हैं, जैसा भी अपने आप को अनम्यूट कर सकते हैं.
ठीक है. कोई एक साथ 2-3 जने नहीं आए, इसलिए
हाँ
अपन
नहीं
चाहते थे.
उनको अपन बोल सकते हैं कि एक जन एक करके क्वेश्चन पूछे
हाँ.
या कमेंट करें.
दिनेश वाघमरे, अभी दिनेश वाघमरे दिखाई दे रहे हैं, है ना. प्लीज गो अहेड दिनेश वाघमरे. अनम्यूट एंड गो अहेड.
Are you able to listen to me, sir?
We are able to listen you.
Sir, my observation is you have talked about types of fear. But if we see the energy of fear per se, then it is coming, according to my thinking, it is coming out of the individuality, as Mr. Bore read about the Krishnamurti's lecture in the last, this thing, at the last. So it is coming from the individuality, and thinking is just the verbalization of it. The fear is coming at the perception level, not at the thinking level. It is emerged from the perception itself, and it is coming because the individual is having experience of limitedness. Since he feels that he is limited, and that's why the fear is generated when he is not able to give the proper response to the situation, or when the response to the situation is not adequate, then the fear comes in between. And can there be any state in which this individuality is not doesn't come into picture, and he becomes free of this individuality? If there is any such state of mind exists, then in that only there will be no question of fear, either fear or no fear, or question of no security or insecurity, because this is directly coming from the insecurity of the individuality. So if the such state exists, as the Krishnamurti has also pointed out, in which there is a totality, or he can see oneness with all the things, then only perhaps this fear will not be there. But in the day-to-day working or in the regular life, fear will be there as a natural thing. That's what I think. What Harshad Parekh has to say.
Yeah, like this sense of I or me, it comes from thinking. And when this I comes, you also comes, then there is a duality. And even within oneself, what is and what should be, that duality exists. So whenever there is a duality, there is a conflict. And then this energy is wasted. But in oneness, which is what the Advaita, Vedanta, and all that says, no two-ness, oneness. That is the highest aim of spiritual life. When a person comes to that state where he doesn't have any fear or jealousy, loneliness, because he doesn't have a sense of I or me. That means the mind is very silent and is looking, living in that. So problems come because thinking, and thinking comes as a habit in most people. We are not thinking. Thinking is coming from memories and language and all that. But we have the ability to see thinking non-verbally, means through awareness. And when awareness is awakened, then even thinking doesn't, this duality doesn't create problem when there's awareness. So I just want to say two things about Milind, what Milind said. The word is not the thing, that is what Krishnaji said. But I feel that the words which come from silence and clarity, those words affect some sensitive people. Like when I came to the first book I read of Krishnaji, I did not know who was Krishnamurti, whether he was alive or dead. But when I started reading, I could see, yes, Krishnamurti is describing my problem, loneliness, fear. These were my problems. So it depends on how do we read, how do we listen, and if we are reading in order to gather knowledge, some concept, so that we can give a talk, then that is intellectual understanding. Though a person may be very clear, he will not be free from ambition to become somebody like that. So that is one thing. And the other thing I like to say about the fear of not being, like when there is no thinking, there is no sense of I, and that experience, it creates fear in many people. I have talked with many people, and they said that it is very frightening to have no thinking. So even when Vivekananda was a very young man, he was full of pride of his knowledge. And when he came to Ramakrishna and Ramakrishna touched him, then he had that sense of no self. But he got frightened and he said, "What are you doing to me?" He told Ramakrishna, "I have father, mother, like that." Then Ramakrishna realized that Vivekananda was still not ready to that state of freedom in which the sense of I doesn't exist. So maybe what we call freedom, that is the most frightening thing for most human beings. So they keep on uh, using too many words and asking questions and have dialogues because they don't have the basic freedom, freedom at the beginning to look at their own mind clearly. When a person has that freedom at the beginning, then there is no fear. How does that freedom at the beginning comes? I don't know, but it is possible. And one doesn't need to read Krishnaji to come to that state because people can follow any discipline if they are really sincere and they are really interested, curious, then somehow that state of silence comes to them and then they can see things clearly, even their own thoughts coming, they can see clearly. So that is what. Now, any other people would like to ask question or comment anything they like.
तो कुछ बनाना हो ना तो यहाँ से निकाल लेना, यहीं टंगा रहता, मेरे थोड़ी लाएंगे दिल्ली।
One thing maybe I can add, connecting with what Dinesh ji asked, is about the individuality and the way the existence is, and how the fear comes into being in most of our actions. One aspect, one is of course at the biological level, which is, or the physical level. It has a biological basis, and there is no, I think, dispute about that. Uh, the issue is about the psychological fears. I think the security a person feels also has a lot of role in it to play. And the security is at various levels, I would say, at the physical level, at the level of health, at the level of food, at the level of old age, whatever you call it. I mean, all the fears which a normal person has uh, about shelter. Now, once I think these insecurities are met in one's life, then once one can see in our daily life that the question of fear actually it shifts when there is insecurity, and when certain aspects of one's life securities are met, then the question of fear also shifts accordingly. So it is also related to the aspect of freedom, which means that once the question shifts, there is an aspect of freedom here, that one is then free from certain kind of fears at a certain stage in life. Now, this, of course, each one has to see in one's life and see where it stands, but it is there.
So I have a question. Does life exist without insecurity, or life is insecurity? We are all the time trying to be secure. Can I see that I'm moving away from what is?
Yeah.
I'm caught in words.
Mm.
Like even when I'm talking about fear, if there's no fear in me, I mean, I see that there's a lot of criminals that don't have any fear. If there's no fear in me, I mean, I'm going to take going to do all kinds of dangerous acts. That's going to hurt me. So essentially, fear is required for my survival. Can I look at that as a question?
Yeah.
Even
We are talking.
psychologically,
Yeah.
even psychologically, fear. I mean, for a criminal, if he's not bothered what's going to happen tomorrow, that he's not bothered about the punishment, he doesn't care about it, he's going to commit the crimes. So just because somebody comes and says, drop your fear, drop your thought, I try to confirm with that. Can I look at that? The same man says, please don't confirm. Please question it. All the time we agree with him, or we conform to whatever he's saying. And if I am free, sir, what am I doing here in this meeting is my question. Over, sir.
Yeah. Okay. From where this insecurity comes, psychological insecurity comes from thinking. Now, I can give my own example. When I was walking in Sayadri school, and the path was going up, and suddenly it was going down. When I came on the top, few feet away, there was a black panther, and it was enjoying the sunlight in the evening. And I looked at the panther, and the panther went away. There was no fear. But after the panther went away and I continued walking, then thinking came. But if you are in touch with thinking, it won't bother you. There's no fear. Only fear comes when there is no awareness. And I have had experience with in Valley School with panther, in Rishi Valley with snakes, very, very big snakes. They don't harm us. But when we get frightened, they also get frightened, and then they attack us. So our insecurity comes because there is a thinking, and this thinking has become a habit, and we are frightened of no thinking because it gives us a feeling that we are alive when we are thinking. when there is a sense of I or me. So then that creates problem.
So when I don't understand my thinking, it creates problem, not thinking.
Not understand, seeing clearly.
Whatever you may call it, we are using words.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Same thing happened to me also, sir. When I in the Bangalore Valley School, I mean outside the study center, the chairs are there for us to sit down there. I wanted to go for tea. I just got up, just crossed across, trying to cross across a big snake. I mean, it just went past me. I was just observing it.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean it happened to it happens to
Right.
many of us. Even when you're
Yeah.
walking on the road, suddenly you move away, and then the car passes.
Yeah.
At that point in time, I mean, you don't feel anything, but later on, when you think about it, you're
Yeah.
scared about it. You get worried. Yeah, I may have been run over. It happens with
Yeah.
most of us all the time.
Yes. But
So my point is, why do I say
Yeah.
I should not have fear?
Yeah. Why? Because fear takes away something very precious in life. Because fear is due to it has some reason, something not understood, not seen clearly. Otherwise, one can really look, and in that there is no sense of I, me, no fear. It's a wonderful state. But people are frightened of that state of no I.
So can I see that
So,
I'm getting caught in words, sir?
One minute. And I see that you are asking many questions. But then after you ask a question, what is the state of your mind? Are you really interested in looking your own question?
Sir, I mean, it is, we have to investigate it, sir. We are sitting here. I mean, if somebody becomes an authority, then it's quite a challenge. Now, that is what happens in these meetings. If I tell you, you must look into what you're talking, I mean, I become an authority. Now you see, there's a contradiction when I say there should not be fear, and I say understand fear. The moment I understand fear, that is over.
Yeah, right.
Why should I say no fear? I'm getting caught in my own words. Can I look at that as a question?
Yes. Yeah. No,
As long as duality is there, fear will be there. As long as duality is there, fear will be there.
Yeah.
So can I have understanding of that duality, sir, is a question. Whether it is there or not there, the moment I say duality and non-duality comes, we are caught in it.
Sir,
I have a small comment, if you permit me. I mean, I think Anandji was saying, why should I not be afraid of anything that causes anxiety, anything that takes away our peace of mind, anything that is disturbing should be dropped off to our best effort, I think. So there is definitely we should try to do something about it, because it's not helping us being afraid of something or being so that's as simple as that in my mind. Whether it is death or whether it is coming down, whether it is disturbing somebody or losing somebody, anything like that, anything that's causing disturbance within our mind, I think should be taken care of. So we should be concerned about our fear, even if it's death. Learning to die gracefully is something that would make us innately happy, and how to do it is the path probably JK's studies are helping us, I think. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Tarun can come forward and ask.
Yeah, Tarun.
Are you there, Tarun?
Hello. Actually, the question put forward is quite genuine one, that why we should not fear. The fear exists in the life, and if it is used in a controlled manner, like a knife can harm. It doesn't mean that we throw away the knife. If you used it in a proper way, in a controlled way, in a balanced way, then it is useful. And it can, many things can be done with that knife. Similar is the fear. Fearing unnecessarily, troubling your mind, losing your peace of mind is not the use of fear. But while you are acting as a man in society, in nation, to your relatives, near and dears, some kind of fear, which is controlled fear, is necessary. And that is lead to discipline. If there is no fear, the discipline will disappear, and it will be very difficult to live without fear. But unnecessary fear, uncontrollable fear, the fear over which you don't have any control, that is to be eliminated. So the both things exist at the same time, saying that there should not be any fear and getting freedom, totally freedom. Some people are afraid of freedom. So what happens after all after achieving that freedom? The life is limited. After life, there is no mind and there is no desires, there is no memory, there are no images, no conditioning. Then ultimately, what is the aim? You are means going the last phase of your life, and you are talking that there should means I have achieved the freedom and I am able to observe. Then what after that? Is it the end? This is my question.
Can I look at fear, sir? I mean, see, the another point I need to observe is that when there is fear, there's a lot of dissipation of energy. Can I observe that is the question? It is not wanting fear or not wanting fear. Can I see what happens when there's intense fear in me? There's a lot of dissipation of energy. So when energy is dissipated, you know, I mean, you see, we land up in all kinds of complications and all kinds of problems. One has to see that also.
Yeah.
So I mean, yes, knife has got his
emotions. Sir, I have a submission. Not only the fear, all the emotions are observed with dissipation of lot of energy. In when any state of mind which is having emotions, कोई खुश है, कोई क्रोध में है, जो भी इस तरह के emotions है, they are all associated with the lot of energy because they generally disturb the silence state of your mind and your life. So they associate with the lot of energy, but all the means transition things are associated with lot of energy. If they are controlled, then they can be utilized. If they are not controlled, they will lead to some kind of destruction.
Yes, I mean,
खुशी करते हैं, कहीं भी आप एनर्जी कंट्रोल नहीं करेंगे. If it is not controlled, so it is going to harm.
So when there are pleasurable activities, sir, it doesn't become a problem.
Anandji, please first take the question of Tarun Kumar ji, then you can talk.
It's Tarun Kumar's only, sir. I'm answering. When he says even when there.
He is asking to Mr. Harshad Kumar.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry. Okay.
Please, Harshad sir, please reply this.
Yes. What is required to see fear is that one must be free to watch the fear arising when it is arising, or when anger is arising. There is this state of watching which looks at everything, the thoughts, and in that there is no control, there is no controller. It's just awareness, or what Krishnaji would call perception, is the action. So when whatever problem, whether it is a fear, anger, conflict, if these are seen clearly when they are arising, then it gets dissolved. And that is why also Krishnaji says, in the light of awareness, all problems created by thinking are dissolved. So there is no need to control, no need to control.
Sir, it is not agreeable, sir. Actually, आप हिंदी में बोलूँ मैं, I will be more comfortable. If somebody is going silently and somebody come to him and simply shout, how? He gets feared. There is no thinking involved in it. It is a natural process. And what awareness has to do with that? And how it can be controlled or not controlled? This is the inbuilt feature in everyone.
Yes.
If you are going lonely with your own thoughts in a completely silent state, even somebody came and shout loudly, just instantly, everybody gets shocked and feared.
Yes.
There is no thinking involved in it. And it cannot be controlled, whomsoever enlightened person may be.
Yes. Okay. So what happens that, yes, momentarily you get disturbed, but again you see it and that disturbance goes away. It is called kind of a stable equilibrium.
All disturbances are momentarily. You are talking at one end that you live moment to moment. So all disturbances are momentarily. This is not a specific example. Then how to control? And what is the use of this getting freedom?
You are speaking a different language than the language which Krishnaji is using, and which also I feel that only there is nothing to understand, only to see whatever is happening. And even if fear comes, one can watch it, and it doesn't create any more disturbance.
Sir,
but I tell you,
the nature of fear, I have told, it cannot be watched. It is simply you have to suffer with that moment. You cannot watch it. It is instant. How you can watch that somebody is just coming to you shouting loudly? How you can watch it? How can you have the watch over it?
So that is natural. That is not it doesn't create a problem in my life. Somebody comes and scares me from behind. It's naturally I get scared. But that doesn't become a problem in my life.
Many people have got attacked due to this. They have got sadness and many other things happens because of this only. अकेले बिजली कड़क जाने से कई लोगों की हार्ट बीट बढ़ जाती है.
True. That's yes. It is a fact. There's no doubt about it. That doesn't. Once your light comes back, you have no problem. That's what it is. We're talking about psychological problems. It continues day after day, night after night. It is there all the time, and I'm thinking about that problem all the time.
Sir, you are telling all the psychological problems or psychological fears comes from thinking. And all the psychiatrists who are treating the people, they are using thinking as a tool to counter that. They are not saying that stop thinking. Thinking can be used
solve the
for
problems,
rectification of many problems. Thinking need to give a direction, not to stop the thinking.
So psychiatrists have not solved any problems.
Anand sir,
they only limit
it.
It
It's already 7:30, sir. So
Right,
let
sir.
us conclude by Harshad Parekh's statement. Let us
Um,
conclude it. It's already 7:30.
Yes.
Please say.
I like to say that how we go through this dialogue is very, very important. Not to assert so much, not to raise our voice, not to argue, but to listen, then give some pause and understand our own self. We are trying to look at ourselves, not trying to say that this is impossible because I cannot do it. It is impossible. Not like that. There is so much to learn about ourselves, and it is an endless learning. And from every problem which we go through in life is an opportunity for learning if our mind is really open and not coming to any conclusion that this is impossible or like that. And I like to say something that even Krishna ji had some fear of going in the dark in Ojai after 7 o'clock or after sunset. And this is reported by Mary Zimbalist. And because there was some fear that there are some evil spirit of which Krishna ji had maybe some occult phenomena. So everybody has some problem of fear, but how do we look at it? Are we free to look when this fear comes? That is the real question. So freedom is at the beginning, I would say.
No, sir,
Thank
my
you,
question
Thank you,
still
Parekh, sir.
remain unanswered. Sir, my question still remain unanswered. What next?
Yeah,
Once you achieved all these things, what next?
Tarun, then next meeting we will be taking the same question. So it is already 7:33, sir. Milind More, sir, do you want to say something, sir? Some last comment?
No, I think there is a lot to learn from each other. That's all I can say.
Yeah, that's fine, sir. Nice of you. In next meeting we will be taking the same question. It is already 7:34. So Kamlesh, please end it.
Okay.
And sir, on Sunday, Harshad Parekh sir, Milind More sir, you are invited for a lecture by Alok Mathur. He is a good speaker. So everybody who is present here is requested to come there. Please, on Sunday, everybody should come to listen Alok Mathur. He is a very good speaker and he prepares his lecture very diligently and delivers it very effectively. So I request all to come there. Thank you very much. Thanks to everybody who participated.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Bhagwani sir.